So we're back.
Yeah.
And we've got Dan Williams with us. Thanks. Nice to have you, Dan.
Hello.
And thought we always kick off the podcast with, if you were sat around a dinner table, how would you introduce yourself? What is it you do on Awaya?
Okay, my name's Dan. I'm a financial advisor. I've been working in financial services for about 10 years. I'm also the vice president of the Personal Finance Society, a community first responder with the ambulance service, and I'm also a student pilot.
So
Impressive.
Got a few hats on there, haven't I?
Yeah, just a few.
And I think we became friends, didn't we, with your links through finance and the way we was doing cyber risk assessments and all these different things to do with cyber. Dean, what you won't know is Dan is on the speaker circuit with the Personal Finance Society. What's your official role there?
So I'm a board member, Personal Finance Society. So the Personal Finance Society, just to give a bit of background, is the largest professional body for financial advisors in the UK. So it's where a lot of financial advisors basically do the annual professional development and keep up to speed with what's happening in the world, run a load of events and various things. So it's quite a really important organisation in our world. So I had the privilege last year to be asked if I'd sit on the board of the Personal Finance Society as a member director, and then was voted as the vice president earlier this year.
Congratulations. And I think on that, so connect why are you passionate about cybersecurity? Because you are really passionate about cybersecurity. Do you want to share that? Because what just hit me and where we struck a chord is, we always say we have sort of two types of customers. One who just doesn't get cybersecurity because they don't think it's happened to them. And what would you say the second one is?
The ones that we've got the two sides, haven't we? We've got customers that don't see any investment worth doing in cybersecurity until it's too late. And then we've got the other ones that, I wouldn't say all for it, but we've got some that are fully on board with getting these practices put in place prior to anything happening. So two ends of the spectrum, really, haven't we?
Yeah, and what I'd say is this, there is technically a third one now coming where people are aware of it. And I think that's more for, like you just mentioned, the Personal Finance Society. If you've got a lot of financial advisors getting educated by yourself. But what I'm intrigued to know, because I've not actually had the fortune of seeing you on stage, what is it you speak about yourself from your side?
So background, I've got a degree in computer science information systems from Newcastle University, and I was actually the president of the Computing Society. Now that sounds a lot more technical than it was, but it was more going out with some beers and having fun. Nothing to do with cybersecurity. It's one of those things where I think you said absolutely perfectly. People don't realize how necessary cybersecurity is until it's too late. So I talk about cybersecurity within a financial services environment. One of the quotes that I was at the Professional Advisor Conference a couple of days ago, talking down in London. And one of the quotes that I used was, there's two types of companies on the planet. Those that have been breached and know it, and those that have been breached and don't know it.
I love that.
And the problem is,
there's
too many companies that have been breached and don't know it. And actually, if these things, if a cyber event happened, they don't have a clue, and they don't have the guys like you in place to be able to help them in those situations. So it's about raising awareness, and it's using that really strange set of skills from computing. I had a kind of design marketing agency for a couple of years, then moved into headhunting. So I was in IT internationally before coming into this. So it's like this weird set of skills coming together. But I'm just really geeky about tech. I love it. Anything tech, I'm there.
I think what was interesting, we showed you the cyber risk assessment, what we go through. And because we're in it, we just think it's just a normal, and just a normality. The norm. Yeah. What was your words to me? If you want to share that.
I don't think I can say them live on on the podcast, but I was pleasantly surprised. I genuinely haven't seen anything like it that takes it into the detail that you do, empowers firms. Again, I was talking about data integrity, and it's understanding where data is, who owns it, and then who's responsible for its upkeep, its integrity, and things like that. So it takes so many different angles. It's awesome.
No, I appreciate that. So I think enough about cyber, and we'll come back on to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I think we should hit in with the first question. So I'm going to say, what's 1 to 3 books you've read or listened? Because me and you are fellow dyslexics.
Yep.
Dyslexics.
Audiobooks, they count as well.
Yeah, they do. I was about to say 2 dyslexics walked into a bar, but which bar is the question? But yeah, audiobooks count as well. So do you want to share 1 to 3 books?
Yeah, so I'll let the kind of listeners into something. You did very kindly ask me this question before we came on air, because knew full well the first thing I'm going to go is, Yeah, I remember the book, but I have no idea what the title was. Yeah, so 3 books. I'll start quite early in the career when I was doing the design and marketing side, which is first Business Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that was the first. I think that was the first and actually only book I've read in terms of
Cover to cover, yeah.
yeah, cover to cover. Apart from stuff like in the profession or for an elective book to read.
There's some good pictures in there.
Yeah, I think that must have been it. Yeah, I remember the pictures. And then Simon Sinek,
Yeah.
Starting with Why. And I think as a young person in business, having those 2 books were just absolute. It's just the fundamentals. It's understanding about goals and objectives, and also putting customers at the center of everything that you do. Is client centric approach. And then more recently, I haven't finished it yet, but I've been listening to Diary of a CEO.
Three great books there. I think interesting. We talk about Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that and listened to it. That was the first time I understood balance sheets and cash flow statements. And quite interestingly, have you read that book?
No.
So we're kind of, you just mentioned it anyway. Start with Why about customer focus, and we're just reinventing the way we do some account management using data because. I was doing some pestle analysis. I don't know if you remember that from back in the days. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, Dean, but I think it's political. I always forget what he passed me my book. Pretty please, Dean. My book. The other one. I prepared some notes here. And we can edit this out.
Okay, it's fine.
But I thought it was quite interesting. And it's weird you mentioned start with Why. Yeah, some pestle analysis. So look at political, economic, social, and technology, right? And where I was linking in with this was, he said, current technology factors I'm seeing at the minute out there in the market and the research is AI and automating bots. That's what we're seeing loads of.
Yeah.
And I think for the financial industry, that's going to be, well, it's already going to blow it up, is my prediction. Big data, we're seeing that all the time. Internet of Things, you've heard that talked a lot about. Virtual reality and augmented reality, we've seen it with Apple's new, I forget what it's called, Vision Pro, I think it is. And then marketing automation. But what I found really interesting is it's all about data is changed, and when we're economic digital disruption. But the big thing we're seeing at the minute, I think, is data is the new oil. So if you think for many years it was all about who controlled the oil, who had what oil, and what we're seeing now is, I think, is data is the new oil. It's all about where that data is, what can we do with that data, and something we're changing in our own model is we've got a really cool tool for giving clients like financial information so they can understand what digital moves to make, how much the customers are spending, the competition are spending in certain areas. And we've been looking at this. And what I found really interesting, one of the books I was going to go through at a real high level was Rich Dad Poor Dad, because it explains a balance sheet and income statements in such a simplistic way. And because we were looking at this data ourselves and was like, what was your questions to me today?
Yeah, well, the new process we're following is generally my account management tools are my own. We've got this new one which focuses on data, doesn't it? It helps us make decisions and helps make the customer make decisions based on the data we pull. But yeah, there's a section at the end where it goes into the finances, and Leon said there's a bit what might trip you up when you get to the end, because you'll do your standard account management piece. When you get to the end, there's a finance part, and that is the bit what tripped me up. I was saying, what's this? What's that? And how are they going to know that? And to me, I think I said to you, it goes quite in depth into finance, and Leon's like, no, it doesn't.
And I think what's interesting, where you might not be able to answer this, and we might go down a rabbit hole here, but when you're giving financial advice, I think what's real interesting, what I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad, is if you don't know what an income statement is, what a balance sheet is, and you don't know what an asset is, and a lot of the times we think an asset is a house, don't we? Actually, it's not. It's the asset of the banks. It's actually a liability to us, because if it was sat there, we've got to pay rent for it. We've got to pay upkeep.
Rich Dad.
You've seen it, right? Whereas when we're looking at this data, it's all about people are our assets, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Our technology are our assets. And ultimately, when we talk about digital transformation, is what return on assets are we getting? So when we use automation across there and we can save 5 minutes this, 10 minutes that, that's a return on investment. And it's looking at it completely different. Also, the hard one to quantify, which we've been talking about, is cyber risk. Someone might not see it as a massive challenge, but if the entire business goes down, how long? What questions do we ask it?
Yeah, it's the same thing. How long can you afford to be down? How much will that impact the business? And like I say, we always go through it, don't we, when we do the cost versus risk. what is the risk to the business? How much does it cost you to be down? Can you be afford to? I think we work it out. We could do the turnover and work out it'll cost you X amount if you're down for 5 days. What's your recovery plan? And it starts the man thinking about cyber and the risks if you do get hit. How are you going to get out of it?
Ultimately, productivity as well. So it's interesting. When you're giving financial advice, what are you saying?
Financial advice starts with education, and it's helping people to understand where they are and where they need to be. So where they are, very much it's a personal balance sheet. It's understanding their incoming, their outgoing, risk, etc. And then it builds that into goals and ambitions. You look at return on investments and things like that. When you say about understanding what's an asset and liability, that's huge. Understanding that your house, and people talk about this moving from kind of rental to property ownership, and you say I can afford a mortgage. I'm paying £700 now, and the mortgage is £700. What they don't factor in is the extra risk there. When you own the property, it's £700, but you're responsible for the roof or the boiler or this, and it's looking at all that. So it starts with that education piece. But just bringing you back to the AI side as well, that is absolutely huge. And taking us back a question about me getting into this speaking side, it actually started talking about financial crime, and AI it's supercharging it. We look at, probably going to take us down a rabbit hole now, but there was a financial institution, I think it was on Hong Kong a few weeks ago, and in the news if you put it through Google, and there was a full finance team on a kind of Teams call or something like that. They took an action, transferred millions of pounds, and then later on they worked out there was only one individual on that call, and the rest it was AI. It was generative AI in the background. So it's to the point now where when I talk, I say it's a technology in its infancy, but already has the power to ruin lives. And that is where we are. So I think that's where the crossover is with what we do and what you guys do. It's that education.
Yeah.
And security starts with education. Finance starts with education. It's understanding where the problem is.
No, but I think linking back into that, I think where you got that is, I don't want to share too much because I'm doing some talking on the personal finance side around AI. I will, when this podcast goes out, it might be around the same sort of time, but we've got AI actually trained as me. Sounds like me. It's video trained as me as well. And hopefully we'll have this ready and live, and the plan is we can transfer knowledge into this AI. So one of the tricks we're trying to do, ask me something technical about finance that I should know as a finance advisor. Give me something. Is there anything I should know?
I don't know. Random question. What's the relationship between gilt yield and price?
Exactly. No idea. But the point is, we're training a model, so I should be able to answer that in real time.
Question.
Yeah, and I think where this gets exciting but also scary, because it's two sides, is we've got a model and we've been testing it. My kids looked at it over the weekend. They actually thought it was me. We was in a meeting today, marketing meeting, and trying to explain our cyber risk assessments, and we went, we need a video done for that. And then Chris, who's been working with us, said, we'll just use the AI model and retrain it. You was in that meeting today?
Yeah, and I've seen some of the other spin-offs we've done with that.
And what did he say? We'll just get that rewritten tomorrow.
Yeah.
And for the first time myself though, because we've never used it for videos like that. We've always used it within, just from a risk point of view.
Yeah.
The first time today I was like, normally that would have been a videographer, a script, a lighting, all the rest of it, and we just typed it up.
Time as well, your time,
frightening. So back to the point though, new account management piece you're looking at, that piece of technology, it's like all technology. No technology is bad. Unfortunately, there's an element of society that are bad actors. So if you want to use that technology like we're using it, it's making sure that we've got the right risk controls, because if it gets into the wrong hands, that is a huge challenge. So no, I thought that was good.
Right, I'll jump in with the next one. So what is your feel-good song or music that gets you focused or makes you happy?
I listen to all sorts. I put on Spotify kind of your DJ, the AI DJ.
The AI DJ,
the stuff that comes out with. To be honest, I have no idea really what I listen to. It just comes up. It's just like a magical mystery. So I think I'm trying to focus. So before I go out and I'm talking or something, I put Eminem on. And it really dials me into, it just takes me away. But normally in kind of my working life, do I have Eminem on the background? No, I don't. I tend to have I'll have like classical music on, or I'll have something that'll help me focus. But I tend to be listening to music pretty much all the time because it really helps me
Yeah, helps me.
focusing on
Right.
what I do. Yeah,
I don't expect you to say Eminem.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't. From Eminem to classical, it is a variety.
it's a variety.
That was my route before I played rugby back in the day. Eminem.
Eminem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Till I-
It gets
yeah,
you in the
yeah,
zone, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of people don't realise that he's poetry in it,
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah,
and
if you can
Eminem,
relate, and that's it.
he's just incredible, isn't he?
Helps you switch off.
Yeah, no, I love that one. I think the next one. What purchase of £50 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
Without going through my Amazon history, it's probably, I'm going to say something completely off piece here. Colleague James and I, a few weeks ago, went through our Amazon history, and we said, when did we start spending money on there? And then you see this, if we could put a graph to it, it goes from 2006, 2007. Yeah, I think 2008, I bought a box set for like dad's kind of Christmas present. 2009, 2010, and then it's like this skyrocket up. Yeah, now most of the kind of tech stuff is probably through there. I can't say 50 quid or less, but the Robo Vacuum, more expensive, but the best thing I've ever bought.
You could argue that the filters are 50 quid or less.
Right, the
couldn't you?
50, yeah, exactly. And the reason is, having a toddler, the vacuuming being done before all the toys are out in the morning, it's magic. So,
Robo-
they get
We don't
life
have
changing.
a Robo Vacuum yet. Have we?
No, we had
The lawnmower.
Yeah, lawnmower.
A Robo
He's got a
lawnmower.
lot. Yeah,
Looking at one of those,
lawnmower.
yeah.
I love that one. Smart way to use technology as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've been looking at them. But I don't
Do it.
know. Are they that
Yeah.
good?
5 o'clock in the morning. So obviously doors are closed downstairs, so it doesn't like wake the little one up. Just goes around the house, does it all downstairs. We come downstairs, perfectly done. Then she can get all the toys out, and you're not there moving stuff and then vacuum in and everything.
Yeah.
Just done. It's just honestly, it's
It's
like
mad, isn't it?
it's like magic.
Yeah, yeah. Can you control it through your phone or anything? Is it all just automated?
Yeah, I
Can you?
could set it off now. Yeah,
Wow.
probably. So, wife Sarah's at home and working, so I probably won't because I'll get in trouble because she's. But yeah, you can just set it off whenever you want.
Oh, right. Oh, let's have a look at. Right, jump into the next one. So, do you have a lesson from a failure of yours?
So I think everybody has failures, and it's where you turn those into opportunities and the lessons that you take out of the failures. So you could argue that first business, I'm no longer in first business. A business partner carried on. I moved away from it because we couldn't make the profit levels that we wanted to. Design and marketing, very subjective, very
Tough market.
It really is. But it was those kind of early business lessons that are fundamental to how I operate now. There's times where every time volunteering on with the ambulance service, you come away from a patient and you go, okay, what could I have done better there? So it's not, I say, not so much about absolute failure, but it's all about how you pick yourself up. The old Rocky, it's not how hard you punch, how you get punched and carried moving forward. It's that. And there are, in life, I think there's failures. And actually going through back to the Stephen Bartlett point, in Diary of a CEO, success is actually down to your failure rate rather than it comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, like constant improvement, I suppose.
I think interesting though, because being in tech, Dean's the master of doing what we call the 5 whys, aren't you, Dean?
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's never normally
Just
5,
thinking
there's
about
on like 16, 20,
there's normally a lot more.
70 why. What would you say you've learned with that process?
I think that's the thing. It's shifting that mindset. Like initially, before I started doing the 5 whys, so I used to be ingrained in the tech, helping fix it. So I'd fix a problem, move on to the next thing. The hardest thing for me was taking a step back and looking at why has it broken and how can we fix it permanently to move forward rather than firefighting, do fire prevention. And it was the 5 whys is basically digging into what's gone wrong, but you're digging in. You're supposed to ask 5 times, but like I say, it ends up being a 10 why, 15 why. And it's
Sounds like my 2-year-old. Why?
Yeah,
Why?
It's exactly it's exactly the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
It's exactly the same.
It's the real reason.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've got to try and be emotionless to it just to get to the root cause. But I think failure is an interesting word because we're all busy, aren't we? And I think what I'm trying to get my head around is trying to not get frustrated with failure. Sometimes I get really frustrated with failing.
Yeah.
And don't ask the why bit and don't take the lessons from it. I think sometimes planning a bit better that when you fail, things do take a bit longer, don't they? And they're normally better, aren't they, the way they do it? But it's just failure. I don't think we're taught to accept failure, I think, from our education. I just think it's
No.
No, it's taught as a bad thing. It's a really negative thing, and it's actually failure is just a lesson that we haven't learned yet.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that one. So what is a favourite quote or saying? If you could share with everyone in the world, what is it and why?
Yeah, it actually relates quite well to the last question. So this is from Richard Poddad. A winning strategy must include losing. So a winning strategy must include losing.
I love that. It's weird, the strategy piece. I've been doing a lot. You mentioned back to your marketing days. Unfortunately, I have the marketing hat on within this business. We was going through it when we was a leadership team, and it's just something I've inherited, but it's so complicated that a lot of people just don't see or don't respect. 'Cause it's just so big. And an interesting part of the strategy and the research piece is looking at where you've lost and building improvements. And it's so subjective, though, is marketing. It is.
It is.
It's such a challenge.
There's a hell of a it
There's a
does-
science overlaid by an art, isn't it? It's,
Yeah, I think we went through it on the SLT meeting we had, and we said nobody fully understands what marketing does, and it's only when you dig into the
So
it's
big.
huge.
Yeah, and it's. But I think what's quite interesting when the research I have been doing, it's really listening to your customers and digging down with the 5 whys, listening to how they've failed, and then trying to align your products and services with their needs. But it's so subjective, which is all business. All business is subjective in it around that. So you go next.
Jump in with the next one. In the last 5 years, what new habit or beliefs have had the most profound effect on your life?
That's a big question.
That
isn't
is a
it?
big question.
So, what habits? I think the last 5 years have been quite a journey from my perspective, because if we think 5 years ago, I was a few years into a career in financial services, just coming out of headhunting. I was probably just about getting engaged at that point, and so you look how far life moves in 5 years. I think the best way to answer it would be self-belief. And I don't know if that's come out of, for me, being married, settling down, having a little one, and just changing perspective on life, what life means, what our beliefs, what our drivers are. But it's given me a lot of self-belief. 5 years ago, could I have sat at a board with some of the most incredible people around the table I've ever met? The brain power, the experience in around board table PF is absolutely just unbelievable. But I now have the self-belief to be able to sit there and listen, and also admit when I'm wrong as well, and not drive forward and say, okay, we have to be right, and it always has to be our ideas. To be able to sit around the table and go, actually, I'm going to listen as much as I'm going to speak. There's a couple of self-belief and really listening.
That's
Do you know that on self-belief?
yeah. This is a journey we've been on for a number of years now, isn't it?
I think we're all on it. I think
We're all on it. Yeah,
I think
been up in me.
yeah, no, I've just been a mirror. I haven't been helped it.
yeah.
I've just been a mirror, and we talk about this moving in onto a leadership team, having a voice around the table, and I think what I always found as a business owner, you always think other people have got the answers, and you just got to get comfortable, which I've become comfortable in, knowing that I'll find the answers, and it might not be me who finds them; it'll someone else around the table.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, exactly the same. It's self-belief's always been a challenge of mine. I've just done what I've done for work and thought that was enough. And then it's only when Leon came in and started helping me as a mentor that he was opening my eyes to new challenges that I didn't think I was capable of doing. And obviously Leon saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And you've basically held that mirror about self-belief. And it's like you just mentioned, then you're sat at a table with all those, those great minds, and you've always said the same. You're at that table because you deserve to be.
And I think what I find interesting is I always say this sort of roughly 2 types of people in terms of the way they process information: people and values first, or systems and process. It's just the way they value information, and it doesn't mean that they don't value people. But you have a super skill of valuing people before systems and process,
I do, yeah.
and that is like such a super skill, But the difference is, people and values can't be quantified.
Yeah.
So it becomes quite challenging. And I'm going to keep going back to my marketing point, right? We're trying to understand human behavior patterns.
Yeah.
Great YouTube video to watch if anyone's interested, called The Dark Arts of Marketing. It's all about Cambridge Analytica, if you remember that back in the day. Yeah. And I took a couple of notes. I thought we might just go for top, sidetrack it. But and I think this can be applied to business, life, and it all talks about what's our competitive advantage. And I think what you were just talking, and you're sat on a board, trying to bring value to your members, and it draws three circles, right? So circle one is the value. So someone's buying into a service, joining the Personal Finance Association, for example, or wants to come to Think Cloud, or whichever it is, they're joining because they're seeking some value.
Yeah.
Now the first question is, are we asking them what value they're seeking?
No.
Because what they're seeking, because the second,
We're portraying something that we want them to buy into.
yeah. So what there is there's two. So first circle is what we call the value that they're seeking.
Yeah.
The second one is the value that we're offering. And what you're meant to do is them circles overlapping. The bit in the middle, there'll be some of our services that they might not even be interested in. Right. And part of that is it's okay if they're uneducated about them services and actually add value to them, because then we can use account management and education to help them. If all them services are irrelevant, we've got a huge problem, because we've got a service that's got a lot of things in it that people don't want. And I think what I find so interesting about business is that human bit, sitting down with people and asking them, what value do you see in us? And then linking back to them, then going on a journey with them to try and build that value for them. So you've got that fit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So when you look at your super skill, what do I always say? Your super skill is working out if they like that value.
Yeah, a bit like that new account management piece, isn't it? It all links together, which, it's good insight for that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
What would you say to that?
So I think the education piece is really important, because people only know what they know. And I think it's our job to help them to expand their circle. And then by expanding their circle and listening, we can then expand our circle as well. And then it's a case of growing with people. And us as a business, it's all about growing with people and helping them to achieve their goals. And that, so it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So it's seeing that bit in the middle. Yeah. And you can increase that overlap by either offering the services but also expanding their horizons education as well.
But I think the big challenge we've got in the world at the minute is, because we have digital, all of a sudden competition is everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can take financial information from anyone across the country now. You have IT support, cybersecurity support from anywhere in the country now. So we've got what I would call hyper competition at the moment. It's technically borderless. It doesn't matter if we're in Hull or East Yorkshire or London, because we've got customers all over. And I think that causes a massive challenge for some people. But for me, it just massively excites me, because I think where we can go and what we can do. But then I think where it's even more exciting, it changes working patterns for people, how they work, how they interact. I just think it's such an exciting part to
So when we first started, we was an hour within Hull we would support. That's come way out the window now, and we can support people all around the world based on tech. So it's the journey we've come on, and that's in a short amount of time as well. Would you say
5 years? Yeah, 5 years. We've seen it change. I think we've seen it change everywhere. But I think what's interesting with the financial world, there must be so much disruption coming there.
Huge amounts. I think from your perspective, you're quite right. It's increased competition, but remember, you're the competition as well. So the markets that you can move into and the markets that you can grow, you become competition for other people, which then forces the pace of evolution, of change, and drives an industry forwards. I think from our side, it's allowed me to work with clients all around the country, where before it was a case of, right, need to go and see them. Now we can hop onto a Teams call or Zoom or whatever, and we can talk. So it's probably increased the amount of interaction we have with clients. But it's also, the personal finance space has got a problem. We've got a problem in diversity and the people that are coming through, which is quite strange, because it's actually one of the most flexible careers and flexible industries that you can get into.
So educate us more on that. So what's the problem?
So there's a survey done a while ago, and it said, why are you not joining financial services? And the people said, because the people there don't look like me. So it was really a case of the average age of an advisor is mid-50s. Mostly they're 50-odd-year-old white men. And because of that, there's not been necessarily the drivers of bringing diversity through the industry.
That is a huge challenge. Yeah.
Huge challenge. But if you think about the way that advisors work, because we have clients that we work with, firms, it's really flexible in terms of taking breaks from a career and coming back into it, getting back up to speed. That's often fine. working hours. You can work a diary around you. So it's actually an industry that really favors diversity, but no one's heard of it and no one knows how to get
Yeah.
into it.
Do you know what's quite interesting? Your marketing background's going to come back because it's actually they've got a messaging problem, haven't
Yeah.
they? The way they position it, they've got a positioning problem.
The whole industry.
Yeah.
Huge opportunity as well to bring the next generation through and to show people this is how you get into the industry. But for me, I was qualified in 12 months. I then went through a period of really working with an advisor and learning how to deliver proper advice and everything. But it's something that you can have a career in it. We have a lot of kind of army, military veterans that come through.
They'd be good. Planning,
Fantastic.
strategic planning. Yeah, it's great skill set.
Skills. Dynamic risk assessment, understanding kind of what risk really is. But it's one of the only industries that you can have a full career having already had a career in something else, because you can get up to speed and you can get, so it's, a huge.
No, but I think that's going to be huge at the moment anyway for all industries, because technology allowing us to learn faster. AI is definitely allows us to learn things a lot quicker. Us dyslexics of the world, it can just summarize things for us and put it into manageable information, can't it? So I think that's going to be huge. But then I think this is where I always come back to your super skill. We're moving away though from, we need to have more, what's the word? Emotional intelligence. We hear that bounded around all the time. That's not teachable though. It's teachable to a point, but if you don't see the world like more around data and tasks, and you're not around that, the invisible, how do you get a return on investment on emotional intelligence?
It's difficult.
How do you put it on the balance sheet?
Yeah, you can't. So as long as you know what area you're in there, like you've worked with me, you can put a plan in place to improve on the other area. Like mine is emotional intelligence. I'm fine with it. It's the other side, the strategic planning, the process. Now, I do that now, which if I go back 5 years,
You got AI tools.
got AI to help, but then it's about, because my personality, I've just done firefighting all my life. That's all I've done. Where now I can sit and plan my day and organise and make sure I've got data to push out when I need to. That is a real challenge for me. It's to you. It looks natural, but I know you have to work hard on it as well.
It's not natural for me.
But again,
Three people
shows.
around the table. It's not natural.
It's not really. No. I thought you'd be all over that.
No. Educating more on that though, because you're very creative, aren't you? But I think the challenge is with finance, with security. You're involved in sales and marketing meetings.
Yeah.
There has to be some element of data.
Yeah.
Where I'm good with data is I can spot trends. So I need the data, getting that data in there in the first place.
Is the challenge.
But for me in financial services, it's understanding people. It's
right.
understanding, talk about emotional intelligence, really getting under what the actual drivers are and what really motivates them, how a plan is going to work, how it's going to fail. But then you have to record it and you have to really file notes. And we have a lot of regulatory systems in place. So it's just a case of making sure you do it. And
you have to work hard at that piece.
Have to work hard at that. I could spend all day with clients, absolutely great, love it. But it's going back into the office and documenting. But that's why you have a team around you and you pull on each individual strengths, and got colleagues who are far better at that side. So they work with me and we work as a team. And I think it's a big part of it as well. It's teamwork.
Yeah, that's what we work at. Right.
So do they get it? Have they got capacities to, and do they actually want it? That's the key. I think it's back to that diversity piece. So making sure we have got that around the table. Because again, what we see from our side, between 70% of digital transformation projects fail. That's because people don't get told the importance of it. They're not motivated for it. We're implementing a new CRM ourselves, aren't we? It's painful, isn't it? I'm seeing green shoots of actually using it together, but we're doing it all together, aren't we?
Collectively, you've got to be all on board, aren't you?
Whereas the old me had been an email and everyone needs to use it, and would we have been doing it all on screen, and would we have been taking that time? So I think that's a huge challenge, isn't it? So linking back, it's me again at this one.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself at 18, and what advice would you ignore?
Be authentic to yourself. As long as you are true to yourself, you'll be okay. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to play to a room. Just be your authentic self. And if you manage that, then you're going to be okay. What advice would I ignore? So I'll go back to slightly earlier than that. And so I was going to go into medicine. I was going to be a doctor. So I did AS levels in biology, chemistry, physics, and psychology, thinking this is great. We're going to do absolutely fine. And I had a teacher who's actually GCSE, and they said, "You're not smart enough to be a doctor." And that stuck with me. And it was a case of, okay, they said, all right, you should go into something else, go into the nursing side of the health profession. I was like, well, actually, that's just as technical as we see nowadays. A lot of the nurses do more technical stuff than the doctors a lot of the time. So it's an industry and a profession. Don't let people put a glass ceiling in place for you. You are able to achieve what you want to and are able to achieve. So just ignore it. If anyone knocks you down, ignore it, be true to yourself, carry on moving forward, and you'll be fine.
I love that. Glass ceiling's come recently as well.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
And I found, I love that word. I never defined it for you at that
No,
one point,
you
did I?
didn't. No, I think it was my interpretation as well at that point.
I love the word glass ceiling because there's, back into that point there, there's so many people who put up on us,
Yeah.
on them, and yeah, I love that word. But where was you going to go? Sorry.
No, it's just the same thing. I think I was in a similar boat. I thought what I was doing, I couldn't break out and do anything different. Mine was more a self-belief thing. It was only when you mentioned the glass ceiling theory to me, which I didn't fully understand at the time. I misinterpreted it. But Leon was pushing me and working with me to develop my skills and further myself. And at one point, I think last year you mentioned, look, there's a glass ceiling and you're ready to break through it. And I didn't quite get what that meant. I took it the wrong way. I thought it was Leon saying, look, you've hit the limit of where you can go. And I was wrong. What he was saying is you're at the edge of that limit where you're going to break through and you're going to do great things.
But the only person who can break through it
is yourself.
Yeah, but then what that led to me thinking, Dan, is just the power of interpretation of a word. Just
a
one
little
word.
twist, yeah.
Because I remember picking back up you again, and he was like, "Can you just go for this glass ceiling bit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just need to break through it." Oh, I thought you went, "I can't get through. No, it's glass, and just need an hammer. But you've got to get through it. I can break through it, but
Yeah.
Words are powerful.
yeah." So
And actually colours as well. So if you're going back to the marketing side, you put that glass ceiling in a different colour and on paper, and people see it differently.
Yeah,
Put it in
exactly.
a red,
Yeah.
people see it differently to a green.
Yeah.
And what you need to just know is what I'm saying is you just need to find the tool, and you're the only person that can find that hammer to break through.
break
as
as
well.
I think what brought it back up though is I think the challenge we all have, like me and it's interesting that we've got Dan on, specialising in finance, is I'm not naturally good with numbers. You're not naturally good with numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just a process. I have a spreadsheet that I run my life on.
Yeah.
And it was just someone a lot more smarter than me told me to follow it. And I follow it to its T and it seems to work out all right.
It is. There's a firm over Liverpool way on, and they've got a really good grad scheme, and they don't actively recruit people that have degrees in anything to do with finance and numbers. They target psychology students and psychology grads because they realize the numbers and the processes can be taught. It's that emotional intelligence side which needs to come through, and that in their view, tends to come through from people with different backgrounds. And again, what a great way to increase diversity in the industry, because you look at the people taking those courses and it's different people to what would usually come into financial services.
Yeah.
So I think it's
It's similar to where we look at things, don't we?
different skills.
We look to employ on
Traits.
traits. Yeah,
Yeah,
traits. You can
all
teach
of
the
us
skills.
from outside of the industry. There is nobody in our firm who's been hired from in the industry.
I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of, where technology and AI is just going to help that process more. Because again, some of the things we're doing with tech, and it changes from day to day. Let's just look at Microsoft skills, just so you understand we're getting a bit technical there, but that's different products and licensing they sell. They change the names of them
All the time.
weekly sometimes, don't they? I think they do it
Yeah.
so imagine having an AI bot that can just go find that information for us instantly. Because at the minute, you can't even trust Google now.
No,
Is it?
Microsoft experts go, oh, let me go check. I'll come back to you. It changes that rapid.
You to the next one?
Yeah, so jumping to the next one. Dan, at times we all feel burnt out, we feel unfocused and unenergised and overwhelmed. What is it you do and what questions do you ask yourself to try and get out of that state?
I've been through different phases with this. So I went through a phase where I did a lot of cycling. I need to get back on the bike. Time and everything else is quite hard to come by when you've got a little one. I try to take family time, and what it does is it helps me refocus why I'm doing what I'm doing. And you just take that time just with the little one, with the family, go out, go for a walk, go out into the countryside and just collect your thoughts. So I think everybody has a different way of doing that. For me, it's refocusing. It's just saying, ultimately, whatever challenge we have, whether that's in the financial world, whether it's in the volunteering world, whatever kind of comes up, we can get through it. And it's just a case of saying, why am I doing this? What is the core driver, the core motivation? And then taking that moment to reset and then just push forwards again.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's family.
I love that. Love that. I had a pajama day at the weekend, which is
Yeah,
unheard of. Unheard of. Just stayed in. Rugby was on. Got the telly on. But just had a family day, all of us.
Yeah, I think that helps. We did exactly the same thing on Sunday. We didn't actually leave the house, and sometimes you just need them days, don't you?
Yeah. I had a daddy-daughter day on Saturday, and
Nice.
we left the house at about 8:30 and didn't get back until like bedtime, and we just did all sorts, and we just just go and just have a really good day out. You feel so grounded after it,
Yeah.
and you realize when there's little ones, and they bring so much. For me, it brings so much to the table.
Aren't we on that? I'm sure you'd agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you mentioned earlier, it's what you do it for. At the end of the day, it gets you grounded. You think, all right, I'm feeling a bit run down, a bit stressed this week, but you're the reason I do it, and it brings you back up, doesn't it?
Bring it into financial services, though. It's goals, and every time you make a decision based on the impact of your goals. Well, actually, same as anything. You don't need to be financial services. So it's those core drivers, your motivations, your goals, and just resetting back to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they change, and that's fine too.
Yeah, and I think where it all links back to Simon Sinek start with why. We do it for our family.
Yeah.
And I just think this is why I love the space we're all in at the moment, which I think is a huge challenge for some employers, because are they able to change their working patterns around with this technology shift, and how do they control and manage that culture, which we all know is a challenge. But on the flip side, the companies that do, I think it's going to be amazing for their own bottom line, but also for the staff's well-being and motivation, because if you can work anywhere, anytime, any place, and from any device, and you can use technology to and I think for the first time ever, it's allowing us to get away from our desk and actually go build proper relationships with clients and build services that needed. So I think super excited. So I'll let him with the next one. Who in the world would like to interview, past or present, and why?
This is a difficult question because there's a lot of people who you think I'd love to get an insight. I think from an investment perspective, you have to say Warren Buffett. If I didn't say Warren Buffett, I'd probably be leaving something.
I've got an interesting fact here, which I might get wrong, so I'll paraphrase it. I learned about Warren Buffett in terms of investing, and he owns more stock. So he owns a lot of stock in Coca-Cola, and he gets paid more money than the CEO of Coca-Cola, and he doesn't actually work for Coca-Cola. That's right.
I'd have to look at his portfolio, not too sure, but look, it's making money work for you. There was an interview a few years ago with Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett. Actually, there's been quite a good few interviews with
them together.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so look at, and Jeff Bezos said to him, they're talking about money and talking about kind of investments, and Jeff Bezos said to him, he said, Warren, your investment thesis is so simple. I think at that time you're the second richest man on the planet, and it's so simple. Because he does a lot of buy and hold. He doesn't try to do anything outlandish. He said, why don't people just copy you? And Warren Buffett, with a cheeky smile, he goes, because nobody wants to get rich slow. That was his thing.
It's a great answer, isn't it?
There's also stuff with cryptocurrency, and he did interviews on that and the value of crypto in his view, because he said, effectively, if you own all the cryptocurrency, if you own all the Bitcoin, then it's got no value at all, because the value is in kind of trading it. So he was talking about why he wouldn't own it and things like that. But yeah, really interesting stuff. So great guy, and I'd be very interested.
Who else would you have on the tables? You got him. You got to have one more.
Probably. Yeah, that's a really tough one.
Who would you have, Dean?
Oh. I never really thought about it myself. I'd probably say my granddad, my dad's dad, who I've never met. I don't think my dad can. I'd like to just find out what my dad's done for me compared to what he was brought up like, 2 worlds apart, and I'd like to understand why his dad was like he was. That'd be interesting.
Thank you for the minute to think there. I'd probably go back and say I'll go back to rugby, and I don't know which type of rugby you're into, but I'm probably going to go the wrong side.
I was having a debate on the train actually about this with some lads who was coming up to Hull, and there was big into what I call kick and clap. That's
Yeah.
what you'll be interested in,
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
you? Not the one that actually has the skill where you've actually got to dodge past people. Like a game
We
of
can debate this.
rugby league's I define rugby league as like a game of TIG with massive consequences in case you get it wrong. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But talking about kicking, that fit quite well. I'll probably go Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah.
Because knowing just the pressure to going back to the old drop goal and everything and performing under pressure and performing consistently under pressure, it'd be really good to get his insight on that. So yeah, I loved how you brought that straight to kicking.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Although I would argue that it is much more technical, and as somebody that was never fit enough to play league,
Look, he's defended himself already with that comment. No, but the debate I was having on the train actually is I really do like Union now. I think with the likes of Farrell and a lot of the rugby lads who went across over to Union from Wigan, I think the fitness levels change and the dynamics of the games change. And I thought what was interesting, league brought back a lot of the wrestling from Union, and I think love it or hate it, I'm not a big fan of the new tackling rules under the armpits, but from a concussion point of view and having played the game, I get it, and we have to move on. So I'm slowly accepting it. Been a game day manager for my own son's team, watching the data from someone getting knocked unconscious. Back in the day, we got some smelling salts and told to pick yourself up and off you go.
Back on,
And I might have this wrong, but there's some special proteins in your brain, and when they get concussed, they stretch. And if you get another injury there, it's really serious. So you do need 21 days roughly for that to come back good. So I do get it. But I actually think Union's going to be better for the lowering of the tackle because they can't wrestle as much. It's going to be a little bit, and I think it's going to be more. The hands are going to be a bit freer, and they'll pass. The only thing what I wish they'd do, if they lowered the kicking points just to a point, or because 3 points is too many. It's too many. There's too much. They're just insensitive to kick.
Too many kicks.
Yeah, too many
You
kicks for
don't
me.
see that you see them kicking up the field to get space and to get position. You don't see that many drop goals, really.
No, I'm just talking.
Or you think it-
I'm talking
You think it kind of penalty?
penalty. I'll give you a quick.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I remember I'm retiring from rugby league
Yeah.
because come to the end, I thought I'm going to play a bit of Union because it's a bit easier. It's not as tough. And we played. I got an education because it's the biggest game of chess ever. Because I played inside centre. And the story I was talking about on the train was, played this team who was far older than us, and I'm like, we're going to absolutely smash these. Tactically, just kicked it. The guy had a kick on him like you'd never seen. Went out for a line out. Explained this to Medine. You're allowed to pick each other up, right? And hold them up there, and you can't touch them. It's like it's a cheat, right? It's like a cheat code. All they did, they had these massive guys, threw the ball to them, forced a scrum, made us have a penalty, kicked 3 goals, 60 points of that. It was just, it was soul destroying. But tactically, I get it. It's a wrestle. But I think what fascinates you about rugby then? Why do you love rugby so much?
For me, I think rugby was a bit of a turning point as a young lad. So I started playing rugby in about year 8 at school. And I went from having friends to having friends for life. I think it was that community. We all still chat even now from that kind of year 8, year 9 rugby team. I think it was the amount of confidence, the friends, the companionship, that side of it, which meant the most. Yeah, I think that's it.
But I think we're using this sport in general. I think sport's great for business, for life.
That's what we do.
We play a bit of five-a-side. Dean's an incredible footballer. Incredible. But we was talking about this, weren't we, in terms of, because we just play for fun. There's a big group of us, isn't there? All different skill levels.
Oh, yeah.
And I think what I love about it is you can't think, when you're playing sport, you can't think about anything else, can you?
No, switch off. We have a good laugh. Exercise, mixture of different people every week.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Yeah. And it's, the banter between us is, especially yours.
I have nothing else apart from banter.
No.
There's no skills there.
Leon just says, "Oh, can I pick on the team this week and get into the red? So let's go."
We get into a ruck. You know?
Generally,
We play football as a ruck. Yeah. I'm just like just a big traffic cone in there.
That's the rugby league coming out. Yeah, no, football, I played 1 match as a centre-back and I was never invited back on the football pitch. But
you'd be good centre-back.
I was good with height, but I was just shocking at the rest of it. Rugby, I was always damned up bother passing it. Just find someone big and run at them.
Yeah.
That was basically it. That was my job.
Yeah.
Just pick and go.
You'd be fine at football because I play exactly the same. It's just that I forget that I've got a ball. I don't have a ball.
You even said to me, didn't you? You said, "Look, I'm going to get into his head. I'm going to say this and that." And he said, "Is it not normal to do this in football? Is it just like a rugby thing? And is that what they do in rugby? Do
Rugby,
they,
we just have banter.
Is it-
It's
yeah,
just
it's
banter.
banter.
It's banter, and it's nothing like try and
yeah,
foul.
like friendly, but
Yeah,
it does work. It does work. If you're shouting someone, oh, he's going to miss that tackle or that shot for a
Yeah,
while,
or like you're gonna-
eventually they're going to
yeah.
miss that shot. Aren't they?
run at
It's
me,
in
and
their head.
he's used to it so that you try and wind them up. So rather than them running away from you,
Well-
they'd run at you, try and hit you. You think that's brilliant because I don't have to chase you.
There's a guy who comes down and he was brilliant at shooting, but when you're in goal, and you get into his head, he's going to miss. He's going to, and you save everything. So
It's
I mean,
tactically, it works.
all psychology.
The great thing about rugby, though, is you smash 10 bells out of each other and then you
Go
go
for-
for a pint.
That's the difference, I
Yeah,
think.
that's-
That is
yeah.
a bit of a different in football.
Yeah.
Football, actually, series one of fight. Whereas us rugby, like, we're quite happy just to
and like, the whistle goes at the end of the match,
all mates.
shake hands, and you go and have a good catch up in the clubhouse, don't you?
So last question, Dean.
Last one from me, Stan. Is there anything we should have asked you but we didn't?
To be fair, I think because we've gone off on so many tangents, I think we've
Covered all bases.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And really, I think we've covered all the bits with talking.
Yeah.
It's been a great podcast. 56 minutes, we're right on time.
No, it's got time.
You think we do this all the time, what do you think?
Mm.
So that's been a fantastic podcast already. Thanks for coming on. Where can people find out more about you? Where can they connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, IFA_Dan, and do check out Personal Finance Society. If anyone's thinking about coming into the industry, check out Personal Finance Society and look at ways of getting into it.
And we'll put all the links out there on the blog as well. So that's Leon checking out.
Dean checking out.
Akin checking out. 1,920 by 1,080 U. Pin GTC Super Visera wrap.